So, walked into the room. The Niners-Bengals game is playing. I call interception right here.
Wasn't Niners-Bengals.
Not Niners, but
Bengals-Ravens.
Bengals-Ravens. I call interception right here. And then Joe Burrow throws the almost interception where the guy taps his foot twice, same foot twice. I felt like I was a psychic for a second. Like that was
pretty amazing.
That was a wild experience. Hello and welcome back to the Eastman Sport Report, your father-son coach player podcast about the Sacramento Kings and San Francisco 49ers. I'm your host, Maxwell Eastman, joined once again by my co-host, Steven Eastman.
Hello, Max.
I think I just got it. I think I just got a case of the hiccups.
Oh, great. We got hiccups on the podcast. Okay, this will be a fun podcast. Well, here we are. We are here on Veterans Day.
Yep, that's definitely hiccups.
We're here on Veterans Day.
Put this slightly farther away.
And we're, yes. So both of your grandparents, grandfathers, were veterans.
Yes.
So my dad was in the Air Force. And then your grandfather.
This is the worst timing ever.
He also had, where was Randy? Was he in the Air Force too?
I thought he was in the Air Force.
They both in the Air Force? Okay. Anyway, my dad served in sort of in the Vietnam War. He worked on airplanes from Thailand. We're flying over the Vietnam War. So yes, long time ago. But we salute to all the veterans out there. So here we are on Monday recording it. As we're recording it, the Kings are playing live right now. It is in the second quarter. Kings are up 33-29
against the Kevin Durant-less Phoenix Suns.
No, this is the Spurs. This is the Spurs.
This is what hiccups does to a man.
Okay, that's 33-32 right now. 8:49 left in the second. Kings are up by 1 point over the Spurs, and we also have Monday Night Football going right now. Dolphins are up 7-0 in the middle of the first quarter. So there's your live as we are recording this. Now you can go back
before we get into the rest of it. Well, we're all. Oh my gosh. I'm going to try my best for this. Prime time picks for this week.
Do we need to mute you? Hit you in the mute button. Anyway,
that's not what the mute button is. It's the red one that mutes me.
There you go. Now you're muted. We can't hear you at all.
Okay.
Now you're back.
Thanks. It's really far away.
You can't reach it.
I can't reach it.
I can reach it, but it doesn't do us any good.
You're going to go right here.
Okay, what were you gonna say about the primetime picks?
Primetime picks. We picked all of the same games this season.
This week.
Sorry,
Max's hiccups are throwing him way off.
I can't focus right now.
Okay, so if we start normally we go with the primetime picks at the end. If we do our quick update on the primetime picks, let me flip down to my notes on that.
For week 10 of the NFL season.
Now, from our last podcast, we did it before week 9. So we have week 9 and week 10. To update on our primetime picks. And over 2 weeks, we picked the exact same games for all 8 games. So so I still have a 1-game lead, 29-13 over Max's 28-14 primetime picks. Did you want to do your primetime picks now for week 11 of the NFL season?
Sure. Let me look at my notes.
We both did pick the Rams for tonight.
Yes.
So we'll see if that holds up. Of course, it's not.
I have it pulled up on the side to see what happens.
Yes, but they are not. I need to flip over here and go to week 11. Okay, so if we're going to do week 11 picks, Thursday night is actually a good game.
It's a really good game. It is a division rival game between the Eagles and the Commanders, and I have to put this here so I can look away whenever I have to do that.
Okay, so the Commanders have a 7-3 record. Eagles are 7-2. And so we got Jaden Daniels, first time he's on Thursday Night Football, coming off a short week. And then we got the Eagles are 7-2, and the Eagles are actually doing better than I thought they were. I thought they would do the season. Saquon Barkley is actually doing a pretty good job with the Eagles. I haven't really seen who they've been winning or losing, if they just had an easy schedule or not. But if we were to go through here, like that's actually a really tough game to pick.
Yes.
Um,
Because it's a division game. Anything could happen during those.
yeah. And
This is the worst timing ever, I swear. I've had hiccups for like the whole day. Like when I woke up, I had them. And then I didn't have them. And then I had them in the afternoon. And then I didn't have them afterwards. And now, between me recording the cold open and this, I got hiccups again.
Okay, let's keep going. Who do you pick between the Commanders and the Eagles, Max?
I pick the Commanders, and I'm going to stay over here.
Okay, so Max picks the Commanders. I'm going to, just for the fun of it, because I don't know who to pick, I'm going to pick the Eagles to be different. Because we've had too many games where we've been the same, and I could talk myself into both of them. So that's where we are. So let's do the next would be the Niners game if we do in schedule. They have this Sunday afternoon game. For Niners versus Seahawks. I'm picking the Niners to beat the Seahawks. Right now, they are a 6.5 point favorite over the Seahawks. It is in Santa Clara. Who do you pick, Max, for the Niners and the Seahawks?
I would pick the Niners because the Niners haven't lost to the Seahawks since I think.
It's like three or four.
I think since 2020.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years.
Because Brock Purdy's undefeated against the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
I realized that if I take a deep breath right before it happens, it doesn't make as loud of a sound. I swear, I'm going to.
Okay, let's keep going here.
I'm going to riot.
So the Seahawks, right? Your own podcast.
Why I oughta. So I picked the Niners over the Seahawks. The Seahawks have not been living up to expectations that other people have for the season. I didn't really believe in the Seahawks that much as a team because I think that going with Geno Smith at the quarterback is a winning move. He's just the rest destination between rebuilding or actually contending, which with the rest of the Seahawks roster, they should be contending.
No, I don't think they should be contending. I think
because they have a really good roster besides their aging quarterback who isn't playing like how he used to.
I don't think
2 years ago.
I think I think they got a middle of the road quarterback and they got a middle of the road roster.
Okay,
and that's where they're at.
That's why I picked the Niners over the Seahawks because I don't see a reason why this Niner team should lose to this Seahawks team, especially since it's at home. Against the Seahawks.
Yeah. And I think and we'll get into the recapping of the past weekend games. With Christian McCaffrey back for his second game, I think we're going to have a much better Niners offensive or better game. So, okay.
Matthew Stafford just threw a pick. It's still 7-0 Miami.
Okay. I don't know how to respond to that.
Anyway.
I picked the Rams, but I always love to see the Rams lose. And I kind of like Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins.
Yes.
So that's one of those things. I picked the Rams, but I would like to see the Dolphins win. But I don't trust the Dolphins. Okay.
Oh, my gosh.
Sunday Night Football, we have the Bengals and the Chargers.
Now, this is a tough game for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Bengals have been playing. I want to have a good audio experience, but I also don't want to.
Yeah. No, I get you.
I thought I was going to go there.
The Bengals haven't.
It just keeps interrupting me. Yeah.
The Bengals have been playing pretty good, and
took one of the best teams in the league to the last few seconds to the point where it couldn't be decided by the refs.
Yeah, and they had a mini bye week after the Ravens. So they're 4-6. I think they're a better team than that. They are playing the Chargers, who are 6-3. But I'm picking the Bengals. Who you picking? It is in L.A. See if Bengals fans will travel because the Chargers have no home field advantage.
True, and Bengals have a lot of dedicated fans, which you can see a lot, especially in their home games.
Yeah.
But
Harbaugh has the Chargers playing good.
Yes, and the Chargers are the 7th seed, if I'm not mistaken, right now
in the playoff. In their yeah. Okay.
But the Bengals are doing what the Bengals always do, and they're playing really well near the end of the season, which usually leads them to the playoffs. Don't laugh at me.
Sorry, keep going. Ignore me.
But they had a really rough start to the season, which led them to be in the position that they are right now, even though they are playing really well, losing by 1 point to the Ravens.
Yeah, and then that was, anyway.
So, yeah, I picked the Bengals. I feel like at this point in the season, it's getting harder and harder to choose interesting games that aren't the two really bad teams playing against each other.
Okay, so the last game...
Except for Denver or Kansas City. Let it go on the record that I picked Denver because I don't know why, and they didn't win because of a blocked field goal with 3 seconds left.
And it was like a 30-something yard field goal, which was totally in range. Anyway, they couldn't block it, and it was they couldn't block for their field goal. Anyway, whatever.
What do you want me to say, Denver? You were you were going to win the game.
Yeah,
you can't block a field goal?
Yeah, you can't keep the Chiefs from blocking your field goal. Yeah, you can't block good enough.
Bring your offensive lineman out there if you need to.
Well, yeah. The funny thing is what I heard later was a quote later saying that from an earlier field goal, the Chiefs were like, hey, if we do this, we can block a field goal. It's like that was an in-game adjustment where they're like, hey, if we do this, I know I can beat my guy, and I forget what it was, but it's like that was something.
He shoved his guy to the ground, and he fell over.
I think it was he realized he could. I think I remember it was he realized he could do a bull rush against him and get there. So anyway, the Chiefs just somehow win games. Okay, the Monday night game next week is the Battle of Texas.
Both teams are Texas.
Yes. So you got the Texans versus the Cowboys, and mine's easy picking Texas. The Texans, sorry,
because the Texans should be a really good team. They're having a slump right now.
Yeah, they're still 6-4. So I mean,
but they're still in first place in the division. They're doing well. Meanwhile, Dallas has won, I think, 3 games this season.
Yes, they're 3-6.
They don't have Dak Prescott.
They probably out for the season. What we heard.
They either have Cooper Rush or Trey Lance, and I was really excited when I saw Trey Lance out there, and then he got sacked, and then he threw an interception.
Yeah. I mean, Cooper Rush in the past had played pretty good, but he didn't yesterday. So,
and again,
that's why look, the Eagles are winning games, and they're like 7-2, but they played the Cowboys without Dak Prescott and is doing nothing, which is really bad because CeeDee Lamb's one of my fantasy players, and he did didn't do much yesterday.
Cowboys have still not won a home game yet this season,
and they're probably not next Monday night. Because it's the home game. Okay,
I picked the Texans. I don't see a world. Well, I do see a world where the Cowboys could win, but I don't.
So we picked one
probable
game, one game different, which was the Eagles Commanders.
Yes.
Okay, back to our normal stuff. That was our kind of our other stuff. We had 2 really exciting games yesterday between the Niners and the Kings.
We did have 2 really exciting games between the Niners and the Kings.
And
I was busy for the Kings one. I was doing other things.
Oh, but you missed a great game. And the Kings-Niners game was it should not have been that close.
Yeah.
I mean, when you go, your special teams goes out and gives up a muff punt and which turns into a touchdown, and then you miss 3 field goals. Now, he did make 3, and he made the game winner. Give Jake Moody credit. He made the game winner. But, like, it should not have been that close. Like, if you look at the overall stats to that game, where, like, overall yardage, like the Niners, total yards, 413 for the Niners, 215 for the Bucs. Like, it should not have been that close. The Niners averaged 6.8 yards per play. The Bucs were 3.7. Like, it should not have been that close. But in some ways, I like that the offense was able to continue to drive, continue to go yardage. Sometimes it was empty yardage because you don't get yardage and you get down and you miss the field goal. But they didn't have a turnover except for that muff punt. The offense didn't turn the ball over.
Yes.
They kept moving the ball, and just super excited that they won. I was afraid this was going to be another game just like the Rams and the Cardinals game early in the season. Dolphins just scored a field goal. It's 10-0 in that game. And so I really thought the Niners were going to possibly give up the game. But they pulled this one out, which was better than they'd done earlier in the season against, like I said, the Rams and the Cardinals. So much better. I love seeing that. The other thing is Christian McCaffrey was back, so this was the first game all season. you can totally see the difference Christian McCaffrey makes in the offense. Just the aspect that he comes out of the backfield and can catch a ball, or he starts in the backfield in the play, motions out, and then you put a linebacker on him and he beats the linebacker on a pass play. Like, he can run routes just as good as a wide receiver. He had catches. I think he had like a total of 19 catches or 19 touches, but that's like 6 catches because he only had 13 rushing, but he had 19 touches, which Jordan Mason is a great running back.
But he's not a great. He's not a.
Yeah.
He's a really good. He's a really good running back, but he's not Christian McCaffrey great running back.
Oh yeah, and then the other thing is, I also want to know, like, Jordan Mason only had 1 rush. Like, I know he was dealing with an injury, but I'm like.
And then Isaac Guerrero came in for some of them.
Yeah, so I wondered if Mason injured his shoulder or was not feeling very good, so they didn't play him very much. Like, I would expect, like, Mason to get, like, because he was, like, second in the league in rushing when he's out there. Like, so why wouldn't you go give him 6 to 8 rushes a game? Like, come on. Like, I understand that Christian McCaffrey is, like,
for a second.
way better than Mason, but, like, Mason's good. Like, you should be able to give out there and give McCaffrey a little bit of a break. And you go out there not. So I haven't heard that Mason was injured. I'll keep looking here to see if stuff come up during the podcast here that I can find that. But I did not hear that. I didn't see anybody even asking about that. But like he sure had to be to not get that much carry. Brock Purdy had an amazing game from the yardage perspective. 353 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like no interceptions. Really good. I think he was off on a couple throws at the beginning of the game, but when the game mattered, he was totally on, leading the game at the end. There's a couple throws that were really awesome. Loved seeing at the first score of the game, Ricky Pearsall got his first touchdown of the season.
Good stuff.
10 weeks after he was shot. You know, it's just a great story to come out there and, you know, have third game of the season for him to go out and get his first touchdown, which was a really nice crosser. And he used his speed, which he has good, decent speed.
Yeah.
Beat him to the end zone right there. That was, you love seeing Ricky Pearsall getting his first touchdown. Really kind of helped spur it. Juan Jennings, I have some stats on him. Let me pull up some Juan Jennings stuff.
Reminder to all our viewers out here, at the beginning of the season, I think in the season preview for the Niners that we had, or talking about the Niners post-draft in season 1, he said that Juan Jennings wasn't good enough to be our third string.
Who said that?
You.
Oh,
you.
I probably did.
I remember that.
Because that's why we needed Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm just like, okay, him? Really? Juan Jennings?
Well, he hadn't done much.
Yeah, because he's third and 1. Because we had Deebo Samuel, who looks out of shape, is the best I can say.
He had a couple good plays.
And then Brandon Ayuk, who was having an all-time season for himself.
Yeah. So Juan Jennings, he's had some really good games this year. He had 7 for 93 yards yesterday. He had kind of the catch at right before the end of the game that basically set him up. Like, he caught the ball, cut inside, but instead of going to the sideline, he ran up the middle and got him into field goal range for the last field goal. So
the last field goal barely with a capital B tucked through the upright rights.
Yeah, just like the game, which was the Monday night game or Sunday night game, also had some field goals that just barely went in anyway for the Lions last night. Juan Jennings, so NFL leaders on yards per route run. So how many receiving yards does he have per routes? Number 1 is, no surprise, Justin Jefferson at 2.82.
Yes.
Yards per route. Juan Jennings is number 2 at 2.66. George Pickens is number 3. Jamar Chase is number 4. Terry McLaurin is number 5. Like,
that's pretty good company.
I know. Like, yeah, that is really good company for Juan Jennings. He was out for 2 games. Like, I really think he's going to be a difference maker in the rest of the season.
Yes.
The other thing is like, if you think about the Niners offense, like, we have Pearsall. Actually he didn't practice much in preseason. Yeah. He's going to find his groove, let's say, for the second half of the season. You got Christian McCaffrey stay healthy. Like, I still think our offense, even with Ayuk, can still be really productive.
I think a lot of Ricky Pearsall's development was in that Chiefs game because we didn't have Jawan Jennings.
Yeah.
We lost Brandon Ayuk in that game. And Deebo Samuel had pneumonia that game, so he had to go to the hospital.
Yeah,
So who are you throwing to?
Ricky Pearsall.
Ricky Pearsall, Jacob Cowing, Ronnie Bell.
And you have Chris Conley.
Yeah, Chris Conley.
Yeah, but he didn't catch much.
And then
game,
George
so
Kittle as well, but he's George Kittle, so don't worry about him.
Yeah. The other thing I love about the Niners, like if you look at they only punted the ball once, which was the first series of the game.
Yeah.
And other than that, like
even though there were 3 drives that we didn't score on.
Yeah, they were missed field goals, but they got into scoring range on every drive except for the first one. So the first one, they even got was it 6 plays, 30-something yards. So I think they got to like midfield, just past midfield. So I with that, if they got past midfield. So that every drive the Niners had yesterday against the Bucs, they got past midfield, which is why they got 413 yards, total yards, because every drive they were doing something with. They didn't have a 3 and out. So there is things to look good about the offense. The other thing that was interesting, I've been looking up all of stats and stuff like that. Brock Purdy, there's 2 people. I looked up how Brock Purdy did against the blitz yesterday. They both were different on how many times what his stats were. So anyway, one of them says Brock Purdy was blitzed on 64% of his dropbacks. So 27 out of 42 dropbacks he was blitzed versus Tampa Bay. And with that, he was 18 for 22.
That's pretty good.
That's 274 yards.
That's really good.
2 touchdowns, 148.9 passer rating when blitzed. So he didn't do very good against the blitz against the Chiefs and a couple other games.
Yes.
He did much better against the blitz today. The other one I saw quoted was he was only 12 out of 14. So I'm like, I think I trust the guy was 18 out of 22. But anyway, either way, really good stats against the blitz. And then there was one, if you guys are watching here on the video, is that pass to Christian McCaffrey where he kind of just throws back and lofts it.
Yeah.
Like he throws that ball before.
Tom Brady was even impressed with that throw.
I know, which was, of course, the only time he played Brock Purdy beat him. But
so,
he does respect him. But still, to impress Tom Brady with a throw is awesome. Like he threw that intentionally up. Basically giving McCaffrey the chance to juke, get around because he knew he was going to get hit. He just threw it up there. No other defender was around, which was good. Threw it up there, let McCaffrey run under it to get a 30-yard play, which is super important in the fourth quarter to even get that 30 yards. But that was just some of the amazing throws that Brock Purdy had.
One thing I do want to say about that game, what we say a lot is we come to games because every single Sunday we go to church, and we're not going to miss church for a football game. So we come in, and the game is already going on, or the game's already finished by the time we get there.
Yeah.
Or it's a 1 o'clock game, or it's Sunday night, or whatever. But we usually skip around in commercials. That was one of the fastest feeling games I've ever had.
I know, like the first half.
Yes.
It seemed like it was, even in real time, only took like an hour. I haven't looked up the total time in the game. Can I see it? But it did seem pretty fast.
It felt like going through the first half felt like you went through the first half of the second quarter.
I know. It just seemed like it was a quarter long.
Like the speed of it.
Already. Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, it's halftime. And then I remember I remember at some point in the fourth quarter, at some point, there's 10 minutes left, and I go, wait, we're in the fourth quarter? When did that happen?
I know.
How did we get here?
Yeah, it was only 10-3 at halftime, and the Niners had a punt, then a touchdown,
yes,
a field goal, and then a missed field goal. So really, and then the last one they had like one play. So the Niners only had, they had 4 drives in the first half.
Yes.
4 drives. Punt with the first one, touchdown, field goal, missed field goal. Like, that's not very many possessions.
Yes.
Like, the game was moving fast. Now, in the second half, the funny thing is the first one they were supposed to have, it was a muffed punt. So it's like, if you look at the drive chart, it shows Buccaneers punt and then the Buccaneers touchdown. And then the Niners had a field goal. Niners had a missed field goal, then a touchdown, then a missed field goal, then a made field goal. Like, so they were moving the ball and doing it all. But anyway, so, a few other notes about the game here. the Niners fans travel
Yes.
really good.
Really well.
Some of the Niner reporters know this. Now it's really hard to tell when you're playing a red team because
Like
the Buccaneers,
like the Cardinals,
and the
like
Chiefs.
the
When you play a red team, it's hard to tell how much is red. And when you go against going to LA, it's like you can see like red and blue. It's really easy to see a sea of red when you're in LA. Okay, so it's really hard to tell how many Niners fans were in the Buccaneers stadium.
Yes.
Okay, but the crowd was so loud when Jake Moody made his winning field goal that the Tampa Bay media in the press box thought he'd missed. Like, the Tampa Bay media is not used to this, and they heard the crowd reaction. Like, that was, like, we don't get that on the TV, but I thought that was an interesting thing here.
I was very stressed for that last field goal. I had to turn off the audio for the TV so I could not hear them say he's missed 3 field goals already, so I could get that out of my head.
I know, and you get to do that. Other cool things about the game. We've talked about this in the past, the Niners rookies. Like, this is a great Niners rookie class.
Yes.
Okay. Dominic Pooney was the Niners' highest graded offensive player. All offensive players on the Niners.
Not the
53 for Purdy.
Yes.
Not Christian McCaffrey, Juan Jennings, Kittle. Pooney had the highest offensive grade. And he now ranks number 10th in NFL, or he ranks in the top 10 at number 8 out of all NFL guards. So like even that's ahead of some of them really good at guards. So out of, if you think about it, there's 2 guards playing every snap. So there's at least 64 guards, and Pooney is number 8. Gem we got with him.
Something of note for Dominic Pooney. You know how he came in, and he's this grown man already. He played 6 seasons in college.
That was a recurring theme with the Niners. They did pick a lot of like older players, which is probably why they're doing such a good job. The other one is another Niners rookie. So Pooney, I think, was he 3rd or 4th round?
Yeah.
Renardo Green was a 2nd round rookie they picked, and he was the Niners' highest graded defensive player. So when your highest graded offense and defensive player are rookies,
and Green stepped in for a lot more snaps because of Ward being out.
Yeah, which totally
prayers and thoughts out to his family.
Yeah. It was, losing a 1-year-old. That's just I can understand him not wanting to play. But from a Niners perspective, Green getting the start, and he played really good. Now he did step out. I forget what he got injured. He came out for like 12 snaps.
Yeah.
But they're saying it's not too bad. But anyway, he had a really, really good game. So thank you for Green and Pooney, rookie offensive players there. So that's kind of all I have notes-wise for the Niners. Great win. Yeah, that's everything I got. Oh, I did have one other thing here. It's really hard to show on video unless I turn around and show the thing to my camera. But there's an NFL team tiers that
ESPN comes out.
No, this actually David Lombardi puts this out.
Okay.
It's efficiency ratings, and so what they rate your defensive rating on the y-axis and your offensive rating on the x-axis. And so if you're better offensively and defensively,
just because my hiccups are gone,
you're don't think about it. And so you have all these different tiers, and you're kind of the different slots. Niners out of both offense and defensive rating. They're actually in the tiers that they've created on this chart. Niners are in the 2nd tier, which only being 5 and 4, you wouldn't expect them to be that good, which is kind of a hint on how bad their special teams are. But anyway, the number 1 tier is the Detroit Lions, Buffalo Bills, Commanders, and Ravens.
Makes sense. Wait, the Chiefs aren't there?
No. In the second
efficiency, that makes sense.
Yeah, efficiency. Now the Eagles are on the line between the number 1 and number 2, so I'm not sure where the line, but so they're right on the line. Eagles are on the line. The second group has Vikings and Chargers, which are very high on the defensive rating, and then you have kind of in the middle, you have the Steelers who've played really good, the Green Bay Packers, the Chiefs, but the Niners have a better offensive rating. Chiefs have a slightly better defensive efficiency rating, but. Anyway, so Niners are in kind of that 2nd tier, which if they can get their special teams in order, we could have a second half of the season right.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to say on the Niners game?
Nothing I want to say on the Niners game, but before I move to Kings basketball,
Yes.
I have my top 5.
Oh, Max's top 5.
It's not the Rams and it's not the Dolphins, so this game doesn't matter for my top 5.
Okay.
The Rams, maybe top 10, but no.
Not for me. But anyway, Max's. So I gotta say that right. Max's top 5.
Get a load of this guy over here. Anyway, number 5. I did some shifting around because of the games this week.
Okay.
And I'm like, wait, let me check something. I just thought about something. Who did they?
Who to who?
They played. Okay, never mind. I don't want to say it out loud because it's obvious who I'm thinking about. But
Okay.
Not the team I was just thinking of, but number 5 team in the league. I have the Washington Commanders. I think this is the same ranking that they were the start of last week, 2 weeks ago. But I don't know how many more times I can say the same things about these teams and saying how they're playing really good, and how Jaden Daniels has 3 interceptions this season.
Last time we had a podcast, the Commanders were not in your top 5.
No. Anyway, Commanders have 3 interceptions. Actually, scratch that. They have 3 turnovers.
For the whole season.
Yes,
yeah.
the whole season.
Wow, that's amazing for a rookie quarterback. Yeah.
Wait, they might have gotten one against the Steelers. I'll check while I'm talking, but
Okay.
the
Number 2 or number 4? Sorry,
no,
number
I want to
4.
keep talking about the Commanders.
Oh,
The
sorry.
Jaden Daniels is playing like a grown man. He is playing so much better than CJ Stroud did last season, because CJ Stroud last season was fighting for a playoff spot with his team to make it, having to let the Titans beat the Jaguars so then they had a chance with the Colts for a playoff spot. And then Jaden Daniels is 7-2. What do you want? What do you want from it? He's 7-3, I think now, but he's playing winning football. He's playing so well for a person who came into his first season.
So yes, this Thursday night game is the winner of that takes the lead in that division, because they're 1-7-2, 1-7-3. So the winner of Thursday night's game will take the lead in that division for the what would be the number 2 seed currently in the playoffs. Well, yeah. Okay. That's number 5.
Yes.
Number 4.
Number 4. They could honestly be traded with number 3, but I have the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay.
Baltimore Ravens, one of the best defenses in the league, are also a really good offense in the league. Went toe-to-toe with their division rival Bengals, who are slowly heating up throughout the season. Able to fend off Joe Burrow, who threw for, I think, 4 or 5 touchdowns.
Jamar Chase went off.
He was on his fantasy team.
That was awesome. 57 points for my fantasy team.
Yeah. But the Ravens are a really, really good team.
I wish Jamar Chase would play the Ravens every week. Sorry. Keep going. For my fantasy team. The first time they played him this year, he had a really good game, too. Sorry, keep going. Sorry, it's not about my fantasy
You just interrupted me.
I totally interrupted you about my fantasy team.
But I think the Ravens haven't lost since their 3-game losing streak.
Well, they're 7-3, so that would make sense. Yeah.
So they are as well with one of the other teams, although maybe not so much. I'm going to say in the AFC, they are the hottest team right now. They're playing winning football. They're playing amazing football. Derrick Henry is playing out of his mind. He's also on 2 of my fantasy teams because I'm in 4 leagues, unlike this guy who has commitment issues.
Okay.
But the Ravens are doing really good. I don't know much more I could say about the Ravens because I've already said so much about the Ravens. I've also already said so much more about these other 3 teams.
Okay.
Number 3. I got the Chiefs.
Oh, number 3. Okay.
You do not almost lose to the Denver Broncos of all teams. The only reason you won is because the refs were letting holding calls go all throughout your touchdown drive, which let you go up 16-14. And then the other only reason you won is because your defense couldn't hold the Broncos to going down to get a field goal, but your special teams could. Is that winning football? No. Yet you are, I think, 9-1, 9-0.
That they just keep winning.
They just keep winning.
Hey, okay.
They're playing really poorly, yet they still win. So I can't deny them for being on this list, even though I think if they played the Ravens, if they played the take the Ravens one back.
Because they beat the Ravens the first game of the season.
Yeah. If they played the Lions, if they played the Commanders, I'm not going to say who's at number one because that's a bit of a surprise. But if they played any of those teams, they aren't going to win those games, in my opinion, because they're so much better. Because those teams are so much better than the Chiefs.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway,
number two.
I already said their name by accident while reading my list. I have the Detroit Lions.
Ah, okay.
The Lions fell down a little bit because Jared Goff threw 4 picks. That's kind of it. CJ Stroud also threw I think 3 interceptions that game, but Jared Goff threw 4 picks, and you don't get to stay at number 1 for that. Sorry, my bad. You did also get a game-winning field goal, sort of like the Niners, where it just chipped right around the uprights, and it was able to stay in, which was impressive. And I think you watched some of that game?
The Texans actually missed a last-second field goal, which set them up in decent position. Mm-hmm. So the Lions only had to move 20 yards for a field goal.
Yes.
The bad thing about missing a long field goal at the end of the game. But anyway, yes.
Anyway, so that's what I have for number 2.
Okay, and number 1.
Can you guess?
The Buffalo Bills.
The Buffalo Bills.
Who play the Chiefs this week?
Please. I'm begging you. I mean, Josh Allen has a winning record against Patrick Mahomes in the regular season. He's just lost every game against him in the postseason. So, does it even each other out? No, it does not. But Josh Allen and the Bills are playing really good. Amari Cooper has opened up that offense to being so much better than they have been. Yeah.
It's in Buffalo too.
They play in Buffalo against the Chiefs. Hopefully a snow game. That'd be a really cool atmosphere.
Niners play in Buffalo first week of December. I think it's December 1st.
We're going to freeze to death. Anyway.
Okay.
But they are playing really good. Their defense is playing really well. They got Joe Flacco to throw, I'm going to say 3 because I'm not fully confident, 3 interceptions against them. The guy who had Anthony Richardson benched. And Joe Flacco's starting to show his age a little bit because he was playing really good for Cleveland and he started playing really good for the Colts.
Yeah.
And now that later in the season is happening, he's not playing as well.
Yeah.
So, but the Bills are playing really, really good. They are the best team in the league right now. If the Lions play the Bills, I think the Lions would win. But because of that game, Lions, you're going down a spot. But that's what I have for my top 5.
Okay. So in Max's recap from last week, the Texans have fallen out and the Commanders came in to your top 5. Okay.
The Texans lost to the Jets, and then they lost to the Lions. They are not winning right now, so you go down.
They deserve to go down, yeah.
Although the Commanders lost to the Steelers, but I don't know who else would be there besides the Commanders.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Okay, we're going to switch over some NBA talk.
NBA talk. Sacramento Kings time.
Okay.
This is your area of expertise. Like I said, I think at the start of this podcast, or maybe I didn't. Anyway, I was busy with a Friendsgiving during Kings basketball.
What's your commitment? Jesus or this podcast? Come on. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, let's not get into that.
Bad news for you.
Yes. You missed an awesome game last night. Kings versus
Can I say something?
Sure.
Say something?
Yes.
Rams made a field goal.
10-3.
10-3.
Okay.
That is your update. Continue.
How's the Kings game doing tonight?
I have no idea. I don't have that one open.
Okay. Let's see. Can I look at it real quick here before?
Kings, Spurs. It is... Why isn't this letting me scroll right now?
I don't know.
Oh, this is sick. It's not sick. I'm emotionally and physically devastated.
I got it. Oh, Spurs are up 71-61. Okay.
What quarter is it?
Looks like just started the third quarter. There's a few minutes into the third. Okay. Kings have plenty of time to come back because they like to do that.
In the third quarter.
Yes, they do.
I like them coming back. That's a good thing.
Yes. So the Kings had a really good game against the Suns yesterday. The Suns were without Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant injury. And in a guy that age who's had Achilles problems before, this is a calf injury, which is the same thing they said when he had a calf injury and broke his Achilles when he was playing for the Warriors. So just for the overall goodness of the game, I hope he gets healthy, but a little worried about him.
When did that happen?
A couple days ago?
No, not that.
Kevin Durant.
I tabbed over to the tab that I had the Rams Dolphins game, and it suddenly switched to the Giants-Panthers. When did that happen?
Okay.
Why do I want to look at that one?
So Kings game last night was really exciting. The Kings both teams were not shooting very good. Both teams were not shooting very good, but the Kings, they really, DeMar DeRozan, this is a game where this is the reason why you signed DeMar DeRozan. He was shooting horrible. If you look at him and Fox, where was the stats on that? They were shooting a combined, before the fourth period, 9 out of 30. So that means you're making 9, missing 21 shots for both DeMar DeRozan and De'Aaron Fox. Then they finished the game 15 out of 18. Like total clutch. They have some really good names that are coming out on Twitter. Clutch Bros. Instead of Splash Bros, we got the Clutch Bros. There's a couple others that are kind of weird. I like the Clutch Bros one is a decent nickname for the two of them. But DeRozan had 16 points in the fourth. He scored their first 8 in overtime. And then we heard post-game that he actually told Fox, okay, now it's your turn. And then Fox goes out and scores 8 points. And it was almost like a switch flipped where DeRozan went off to the corner, let Fox get the ball at the top of the key with about 1:50 left in the overtime. It was actually kind of a close game at that point.
Yes.
Because they'd just given up a 4-point play, which we could get into later if we really have time. But anyway, they give a 4-point play, which I don't think should have happened, but whatever. Fox just drives the lane, gets a bucket, gets a layup. He just I'm going to get by you. And then he got in the lane 2 other shots and made like a 10 or 11-foot shots and 2 others. And then he had kind of one he was playing with was it Mark Jones kind of says, playing with his food along the almost 3-point line. So this was just inside the 3-point line, kind of behind the back, everything. So this was more like a 20-footer. He made one of those too. And he was like, once he makes that, game was over. But Fox and DeRozan totally come up there. I wrote down my notes here. The Clutch Bros are born. So just an amazing game to come back and watch DeRozan and Fox really do it. The other thing is Keegan Murray, the evolution of Keegan Murray. So in the game last night, DeRozan had a shot they were down by 1 with about 16 seconds to go. They got the ball to DeRozan. DeRozan shot it. And this is the Kings were coming back. So they were down by 6 or 7 points for a while there. But he came back, got it within 1. And DeRozan missed the shot. Keegan, though, gets the rebound and tips it back in. So he takes him up by 1 with about 3-something seconds left. Now, there's something happening on the other end. They got one free throw, tie the game, and that sends it to overtime. But Keegan Murray's tip-in was awesome. And so I wrote down in my notes here, the evolution of Keegan Murray. Whereas first year, he really kind of came out and, this was the original Beam team. They were shooting lots of shots. 3-point rookie record.
Yes.
So his first came out as hey, I can shoot. I'm a big guy or 6'8" guy who can shoot, does a lot of other good things, but his calling card his first year was I shoot threes, rookie record for made threes over 200. Okay. Second year, last year, he added defense. He was traditionally guarding almost every game he was guarding the toughest player on the other team. Still doing that. After his first season, he spent the offseason guarding Fox. That's one of the best persons you can learn to play defense. This year, he's adding rebounds.
Yes.
So I talked in the earlier podcast about how the Kings are really wanting their people that are in the corners to crash on offensive rebounds. And it's better for you to crash to get an offensive rebound. And if you don't get it, it kind of mucks it up and they can't fast break as fast.
Yes.
And you have the 2 people at the top usually do it, but you have DeMonis in the inside. But we need to go out for offensive rebounds. Overall, Keegan Murray's averaging 9 rebounds a game. through 10 games.
Mm-hmm.
So doing awesome there. He had 8 double-doubles all of last year. He has 5 out of 10 this game or this year. So if he keeps that up, he could, get the, keeps it up 50%. He could do 41 double-doubles this year, which is, I don't know where that'd be on the list, but that'd be really up there high on the list for overall. And you have Sabonis and you have Keegan Murray both rebounding. The evolution of Keegan Murray is there. Which the funny thing is that Max and I were, as we go through the week, he saw somebody where like, what was it? The Sixers?
The Sixers, yes.
Sixers fan page, like, we should trade for Keegan Murray.
I'm like, yeah, you should, but are we gonna give him?
And then you look at who they wanted to give him up, and they were like, what?
Who and who and who?
And you see, I was like, okay, yeah, because Keegan Murray's really good.
Yeah,
we like him.
Give us
we don't even
Paul George.
I don't even know if I'd want Paul George over Keegan Murray right now.
It's a more of a win now move than a.
Yeah, but
Keegan Murray's more a win for the future because he's
Yeah.
going to continue developing and he's as a smaller contract, so it's better for the team.
So Kings played really good, and they played good at the end. They did not play a great game overall. The previous game they lost to the Clippers, which was not as close as kind of the final score indicated, especially in the second half. The Clippers, surprisingly, are one of the better defensive teams in the league, and they really gave the Kings fits defensively. The Kings did go out and beat the Raptors handily after, like, earlier in the week before, losing in overtime to the Toronto. So they came back and beat the Raptors 122-107. So that was not a very close game. They really kind of pushed away in the second half. We watched some of that game. That was a really good game. The game before, last game of the road trip, do you remember this game against the Miami Heat? The Kings won by 1 on Sabonis. Got a rebound. So,
yes, I do remember that.
So Fox had a shot at the top of the key. A whole
Sabonis,
bunch of people
falling over, shoots it.
Yeah, so he kind of gets the ball, gets off a rebound, falling back, and he's lefty. So he shoots it left-handed right in the net as, I think it was about less than a second to go for the Heat. But the clutchness of the Kings this year is totally coming through. Now, I saw somebody else say that the Kings are actually like 3-4 in clutch games this year, but that's because the first 2 games of the year they lost were considered clutch games. So they started out the year 0-2, and now they're 3-1 in clutch games. So their other clutch game would be the loss to Toronto in overtime. But other than that, they've won 3. So that's winning against the Heat. You win against the Suns because that game is in overtime. What would the other clutch game be? The Jazz they beat handily. The Trailblazers they won handily. The Heat. Anyway, so overall, I'm loving the clutchness of the Kings coming up here.
One thing I saw and that I agree with, that I'm going to steal from someone else that I forget the name of that I saw.
Yes.
The Kings of last year would lose a lot of these games because the Kings this year are a lot more mature. They're a lot more resilient. They're able to take runs away from people instead of just hiding down in their little shell and seeing how they keep on getting scored on over and over again. They're able to crawl themselves out of games. They're able to hold on to their leads when people are crawling back into the games, like how we did with, I think, the Hawks. And with DeMar DeRozan and his leadership that he has for this young team, it's so visible.
A couple other good things about the Kings. The Kings are still, we talked about things in the last podcast, the Kings are still number 1 in free throw percentage after being last year. They're number 1 at shooting 84.5% from the free throw line.
Nice.
Number 2, which is the Celtics, are they're number 2 at 82.9. So like a whole 1.6% better than the Celtics.
Yes.
So that's not just because you got DeMar DeRozan, who's a really good free throw shooter, but that's Fox, Sabonis, and everybody else shooting free throws better.
Now, can we have the Celtics record, please? Just a thought.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually, right?
Yeah.
Some other interesting things here. Domantas Sabonis had another triple-double, but he had a perfect triple-double recently where he didn't miss any shots. No shots, no missed shots, no turnovers. The note that I got here, in the last 42 years, this is only the second time that somebody has scored a triple-double by not missing any shots and not having any turnovers.
But this is the first time that anyone's done that and has not committed a foul.
Oh, I didn't even look up. Do you want to guess who the other one is who didn't miss a shot and didn't have his turnover the last 42 years?
I got nothing.
You got nothing. He still plays in the NBA. It happens in 2018.
LeBron James.
Jokic.
Oh, darn.
Jokic, the triple.
I thought you said, I was thinking really old because you said like 40 years ago, so I thought.
Well, this has only happened for 2 times in the last 42 years, but he's still playing.
Okay. That's why I thought LeBron James, because old man.
No, I get you. I get you there.
You see where the train of thought?
Yeah. Sabonis also has his true shooting percentage, which is 72.3%, because he's shooting really good behind the 3-point line. He says that's the highest mark in NBA history for a player averaging at least 16 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
So Sabonis is doing really good. Some bad news for the Kings. Malik Monk is out for at least 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks. So he has sprained his ankle in last night's game. So he's out. The Kings did also give a injury update for other players. Mm-hmm. Devin Carter is progressing on his rehabilitation from his left shoulder surgery on July 11th.
Nice.
Carter
Always good to hear.
Recently completed his 4-month follow-up appointment with Dr. What's-his-name, Selznick.
Okay.
He was cleared for unrestricted shooting. Okay, cool. He can start shooting after
with his shoulder. Yeah,
this is
shooting.
shoulder. So he can shoot. So that's good. Next update will be provided in January. Okay, so he's progressing.
Yeah,
good. King center Orlando Robinson. I have no idea how good this guy is, but anyway, they signed him as their backup center. He continues to progress in his rehabilitation from a sprained left MCL. Mm-hmm. He sustained in practice on October 3rd. He has been cleared for contact, and it will be reevaluated in the coming days. So he's cleared for practice and can start ramping up to eventually get into the games. So I don't know if he'll actually play over Alex Len, but
neat. Apparently, when Matthew Stafford threw, I still have the game up. Matthew Stafford threw in his interception. The next play, Tua threw an interception.
Yeah,
small things.
Yeah, you give one,
And also, the Kings are currently being outscored 15-7 in the third quarter. 75-62 currently. Continue with what you were saying, if you can.
Okay, so that was the Kings injury update. Another thing I want to track throughout the season, throughout here, is how do the Kings look in NBA power rankings? Mm-hmm. Just kind of giving a few of them.
Let's see what the national media thinks about us.
Yeah, how do the national media think of us? So ESPN put us at now. Because the rankings normally from NBA come out normally on Wednesdays.
Yes.
So this is like 5 days old.
Mm-hmm.
ESPN has it number 15.
That seems mid. That's mid.
That seems really low.
Yeah.
The Athletic has number 9.
9?
Yeah, which is okay. I'd like NBA.com, which they just updated theirs today, had the Kings at number 9, and CBS Sports had the Kings at number 10. So ESPN is the outlier there, but the Kings being at 9 and 10 in overall is actually pretty nice. Last kind of NBA news here. If you have looked at the NBA standings
this is
recently,
the weirdest standings I've ever seen.
Yeah, have you seen the NBA standings?
Okay, let me read you off the standings for the Western Conference, just by the record. 8-2, 8-2, 8-2, 7-3, 7-4, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4, 5-5.
So there's
that's all the way down to 11.
So there's 10 teams in the West that are above 500. Kings are, of course, one of them.
Yes, and let me read you out by name every single team in the Eastern Conference that is above 500.
Okay,
there's the Celtics who are 9-2. There's the Cavaliers who are perfect.
11-0. That's the whole
and
list.
Then the Pacers are 5-5. So,
So, like, if the Kings were in the East, they'd be the number 3 seed right now.
Yes.
But because they're in the West, they're in a five-way tie for 6th place. There's 5 teams they're tied with.
And we lost to the Clippers and we lost to the Lakers, so we can't be ahead of them.
And the Timberwolves.
When do we play the Timberwolves?
Second game of the season.
Oh, yeah.
No, they were the first game. Lakers were the second game.
Oh, yeah. I forgot
But we
about that.
do play the Timberwolves, I think, at the end of this week.
Okay. Sounds good.
It might be on Friday. It might be our first NBA Cup game.
Ooh, fun.
Anyway, so the Western Conference is really, really tough right now, which leads me to this stat here of the standings, where the West is 33-14 against the East in their conference games. Mm-hmm. So they're winning 7. The West is winning 70% of interconference games. In the last week, they went 20-8. Now,
You gotta be kidding me, man.
Now, the Kings did help on that. Like, if you go back and look at the Kings' schedule in the last week, I mean, they beat the Raptors, they beat the Heat, they lose the Raptors, they beat the Hawks. So, like, they're 3-1 against the East, helping out that standings because you kind of have to keep up with that.
So I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the standings.
Yep.
The Raptors are 2-9 right now, which means that when the Kings played them, they had 1 win.
Yeah, so they're one of their wins against the Kings.
Cool.
But you look at, like, there's 4 teams in the East that only have 2 wins. 4.
Mm-hmm. And 2 of them are the 76ers and the Bucks, who are expected to be some of the best teams in this league in the league this year.
Yeah, and they are not.
And they're not in the play-in.
Yeah, and then if you look at the East, from the 5th seed to the 11th seed, they all have 4 wins.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
This is the fun part of this early season where everyone is close together.
Yeah, and it looks kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, so it definitely interesting to watch as the Kings go through the season, how they get ranked nationally, and then also just looking at the East versus West. So here we are. We're getting close to almost an hour of this podcast, so I think we need to wrap it up here. Hopefully the Kings will make a comeback against the Spurs. I did not expect that against
67
the Spurs.
Kings, 81 Spurs currently as I record this.
Yeah, hopefully by the time we get this, there's another amazing comeback we have to talk about next week. But anyway, thanks everybody for listening. Any final thoughts there?
Nope, I don't have a single thought in this brain.
Okay, Max is.
I'm glad that my hiccups are gone.
And Max is off of school today. I'm off work, so we're doing that. We thank everybody for listening. We'll record another one hopefully sometime next week. Of course, between work and school and basketball, we fit this in when we can. But we really thank everybody who listens to these podcasts. We love doing this. We love that people go out and listen to them, and hopefully you love our banter. And hopefully everybody can go back and pinpoint when Max actually got rid of the hiccups this episode.
Thank you for listening to the Eastman Sport Report. We'll see you all next time.